Hey, it's Tom from Texas, and it's time for another floppy deep dive. And today's video is sponsored by PCBWay.
When you're needing a PCB board, either small, medium, large, and different colors, exactly how you're needing it, PCBWay is the place to go. And I love it for when I'm using my retro computers and I need that. I like to jump over to the projects page on the computers and USBs and look at all the different things that people did on the projects dealing with the Commodore 64, from doing the Commodore 64 PLA replacement to doing joystick joypads when you're doing retro gaming to doing a keyboard. They have so many cool different projects that you can make using their PCBWay boards, and I love it for all my retro computer and computer gaming needs. So check out PCBWay.
So today we are doing another first series. In the first series, like Ricky Bobby says,
if you ain't first, you're last.
And so about a month ago, I was on Facebook and I saw that the 27th annual retro convention was at the Hearst Convention Center. And so I decided to go check it out early one morning to see if I could go in there and maybe find a cool retro computer, and that's exactly what I did.
It will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine.
And this is what I brought home. This is my first Apple IIe Platinum series. This one came out in 1987, and I have never ever owned an Apple IIe before. I haven't owned any Apple II at all before. Back in the day, I liked looking at these computers that were out. When I had my Commodore 64, I was never ever able to afford such a computer like this. This computer was really costly back to the day compared to the Commodore, and there's the reason why most of us had Commodores, because they were cheaper and we just couldn't afford them. But I know a lot of people have these in school. It came, like I said, from that retro convention. It does have some yellowing in it. You can see up here where the real color is, down compared to the keyboard, how yellow it is. And it could be a retro brighting type project if I wanted to do it or not, but I'm really not too concerned about it. I think it looks really good. I like the Platinum IIe, the Platinum version that came out in '87. Biggest thing with the Platinum version has these number keys right here. So these number keys are how you could really identify really quick which series it is. And this one's the Platinum, but it's just a gorgeous machine. And compared to my last video first of my ZX Spectrum, this thing is a beast, and holding this up, it's got some weight to it. So let's go ahead and dive into another first series. So pull up a chair, grab a joystick, and let's get started. So a lot of people use these in school. My school didn't have them. We had the TRS-80s, but from the research that I've done, a lot of schools use the Apple II. And good enough where if you look on the side of this computer, you'll see that was St. Joseph's School that this came from. So I wonder how many kids loaded this up and played Oregon Trail on here and tried to make the trip across the Oregon Trail on the Apple IIe. Back in the day when you had computers and anything you did on the computers, playing games, whatever, just counted as educational and they just let you do it. Love the Apple IIe. A lot of the first software comes out on the Apple II. Karateka, for example, that's playing over here on my shoulder.
That's the Apple II
version, and it first came out on the Apple II. That's what it was made for, and then it was ported to everywhere else. And that's the case with a lot of these old retro video games, which is really cool and which made me really want to get an Apple II or an Apple IIe, because when I was doing a lot of my Mini Faces series, I would play these versions and I would just wondered how it would be playing on the original machine, and now I can do it. So when I do my Mini Faces, it'll all be on the original Apple IIe, and I'll show how I'm going to be using the disk drive and everything that I got. So let's go ahead and share the different things that we have on there. And if you look on here and look at the different things, you got your power switch and you got your normal plug, which I love. The power is so easy, just plug that in. Power's all within the machine itself, reason why it's probably so heavy. Then over here you've got your plug-in for your floppy drive. And then down here you've got just the normal composite, so it was easy to hook up, which I got it hooked up to my 1702 monitor. Those things just come in so much handy. I love the 1702. They're just so useful for so many different machines. And then of course you got down here your mic in and mic out and so forth. So really not much all that's in there. I have no other cards in any of the other slots. This one I just came with the floppy, and I'll show you that the floppy disk drive that I got and the floppies that I got for it. So I also got a floppy disk drive along with this system, and it is really yellowed. If you look, I don't know if you could see the difference here, what the color really should be versus how yellow this is wherever the serial number that was on here. And maybe it was a serial number for a school too. They were keeping record of it. I'm not sure. On the back there's not much to it. You can plug this directly into the Apple IIe and it gets power, so you don't have to have a separate power supply or anything to run this. You do have a spot to daisy chain it, so if you want to add multiple drives to it. You know, I just love the little Apple symbol on everything. And it's just a nice little drive, and it came in very handy because I did get some floppies with this, so I'm going to show you the floppies that I got and was really happy with. But just plug this directly into the card in the back and it works perfectly. I'm sure the head probably needs cleaned on this too. These old retro drives usually need a good head cleaning. But I haven't had any issues with this trying to load anything up so far. And anyway, just a nice addition to add along with the Apple IIe, because you can do so much more obviously when you have a drive versus not having anything at all. So another thing I needed to pick up to be able to play games and do my Many Faces series on this Apple IIe is a joystick. And their joysticks are different than my Atari or Commodore 64 or the Amiga 500. So I had to get one that works specifically for the Apple II. And I reached out and one of my subscribers directed me to this one. So I went with this one right here. It's the Analog Plus by Suncom. And it seems to be working just fine. You got the adjustments to adjust the axis on it, so when you're playing, and then also for the trigger. And then at the bottom it has your dip switch. You could change your switches to PC or Apple or auto shoot mode. And then when you look at it, it has two different plugs on the end here. So you got the plug for your Apple and you got your plug for your IBM. And speaking of the IBM, that's probably going to be my next one I'm be looking for. I just got a bunch of floppies for like a Tandy 1000 or a PC Junior. So anyone sees any good deals out there for those kind of systems, give me the heads up, because that's what I'm going to be looking for. I got a bunch of floppies and now I want to be able to play them. But I don't know, maybe this IBM would plug into it and I already will have a joystick too. Who knows? But if you do know, put it in the comments. But anyway, so this Apple worked just fine. So I loaded this up because I had Load Runner up and playing, and this works perfectly with Load Runner. And it's turned out that it was just fine. I'm sure there's better joysticks out of there. I see original Apple joysticks were really pricey on eBay, like most retro stuff these days. Everything's so pricey. But this one I got for like 20 bucks. So I thought it wasn't a bad deal. And not all Sunbeams are alike. Some, don't have this, even though people will say they're Apple. Maybe you can get the IBM to work on the Apple II with that plug. But luckily it had the right Apple plug and got it. But anyway, so I got this joystick and it worked just fine and pleased with it. So if you have any recommendations for joysticks I should try with my Apple IIe, I'm open and listening, but so far this is the one that I really like. So one of the things I like to do when I get a retro system is get something to be able to load up these games or load up software with modern technology, so it's a little bit easier and you can get it done. So I reached out to the forums, and this is what I would say 80% of the people told me to get. This is called the Floppy Emu, and it's sweet. I really like this one here. I was hoping that the FujiNet would come out for the Apple. I know they're working on that, but I didn't have time to wait. So I went ahead and got this Floppy Emu, and it also has the microSD card on there. And this case you had to put together, which was a little bit of a beating for how much this thing costs. You think it should already come all together, but you got to take it, get it and put it all together and get it to work. But not that big a deal, but still, yeah, it was a little bit of time consuming to get it all in there. And then this ribbon runs directly and it plugs in exactly the same place where my floppy drive plugs in. So I can go in here, put a bunch of different software on this little micro SD card, insert it, and then I can go in there and select it. And I'll show you more once this is connected. And again, it's powered directly by the connected to the Apple IIe. So this is the little kit, and this will have everything on there for to allow me to load up. And it just brings it, you know, that retro to a little bit more of a modern level, which I really, really enjoy. So you can access stuff a lot quicker, and you could have a lot more stuff, even though I still enjoy my floppies, and I'll show you those too. But this was just really, really cool. Got it. And a lot of people recommended it, and I'm very pleased that I got it. And like I said, load stuff up, and it was just great. So now I'm just going to get everything hooked up and show you how I got it hooked up in my other room. I ran out of room in here. I've got enough computers, so I would start in another room, and this is my first one that I'm putting over there, along with all my other gaming consoles and so forth.
So in here, we're going to be setting up this beautiful Apple IIe. Like I said, it came along with a bunch of floppies. Of course, right on front's the Wild West with the Oregon Trail. But I got quite a few floppies that came along with it, this whole case. Not a lot of originals, most of them are cracked. So let's get this thing hooked up and play on this Apple IIe. So let's look at this and how you can open up the case so you can have access to the board underneath it. And what you have to do is it's pretty easy. You just lift up these tabs, and you can pull off that lid right there. And this gives you access to the board. You can see your cards attached into all the different slots. And of course you can see the power supply, which is all inside, which makes it so heavy and makes it such a beast. I don't have anything else in the slots, but that's how easy it is to access and get inside one of these. And this is more like PCs today's, right? Where you could put a slot to put in your graphics cards and everything. So you can see how it evolved from the Apple II did their things back in the day to now modern day PCs and how they work. Just thought it was really cool to show you how easy it was to open that up. Are there any additional cards that any of you Apple II experts out there would recommend to me that I should add to this system? Just put your advice out about it in the comments that you have. So the keyword for today is robot. If you're keeping track of all 8 keywords so you can win my retro poster, write that down, and at the end send it to me in an email after you collect all 8 keywords. So now I'm going to plug in the power and the power cord here, and you just plug this in. And then I'm going to hook up the disk drive. There's really not much to it. You just plug it in there too. Pretty easy. Just like that. And then I'm going to plug in the joystick, so I have that. I didn't point out what that port was, but it's right there underneath the disk drive. And last but not least, I'm going to plug in the monitor, but I'm going to turn this thing around so I could put that monitor on there. So here's the good old Apple IIe all set up with the monitor on top. I'm going to turn it on, loading from my floppy drive. And so let's go ahead and just turn that on. And you can hear immediately it just starts loading directly from the floppy disk. And it's loading up, and boom, just like that, you've got Karateka. And there it is. And I'll try to get you another view. Here's another view, just a little bit closer and a little darker so you can see the Karateka screen better, because it's hard to pick up these CRTs. So now I just loaded up Karateka and try to pick it up here again on the screen a little bit harder. But that's red on my side. It's more washed out on your side. And the typical scrolling up. And there's good old Karateka. So just wanted to show you that, how the Karateka works, and it looks really good on there. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this. But if I wanted to change the floppy and do something different when it was done loading and had this up, I could just take this floppy out of here. And I'm just going to set it aside. And I could load up my other disk, so I could put in another disk in here. And I'm going to do a warm boot, reset, control, and Apple. Let off, reset first. You hear it just like it's going. So save your power switch. You don't have to keep turning it off and on all the time. But that's just really something simple to do. And there it loads it up. And there's the classic Oregon Trail. I'm going to select number 1 that most people play, you know, the good old Oregon Trail. Classic on this system. When they're in school, a lot of the people that would teach on this. You hear the classic music coming from there. And that's how easy it is to use the floppy. There's nothing more to it. It's basically really simple, easy to load up. Got a bunch of floppies that I get to go through and do deep dives on and learn about. So just really happy with all of this. So let's go ahead and let me show you how the Floppy Emu works. And this is what I got to be able to easily load up software on my Apple IIe. And I love these retro Floppy Emus. I got my microSD card right in there, and it has basically where you can go in here and switch to the different things on your microSD card. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the computer here. And when that turns on, whatever that I had in here last, like just leaving a floppy in a drive basically is what you're doing, it starts loading it up, okay? So what I have currently in here is Castle Wolfenstein. So let's go ahead, if it loads up Castle Wolfenstein, and see if they do it. And as you can see, it did it quite easily. I try to fix the screen a little bit. I know it's a little bit harder picking up CRTs, so everything looks white. But I wanted to show you exactly how it loads up, and that's all it takes to get there. So let's do a little bit of gameplay and let's see if I can get this a little bit clearer so you guys can see the screen now. Here's a little bit better color so you can see the red in the castle a little bit better. So here's the game. Again, the color isn't exactly what I'm seeing here versus what you're seeing on there, but I wanted to give you a little view of it. Dang, that was quick. So basically that's it. It loads up the Castle Wolfenstein, and then you're able to play it directly from your Floppy Emu. And it looks really good on this 1702. So let's go ahead and change it here and look at it if I wanted to switch it to a different game and how that works. So if I wanted to switch it now to a different game, what I could do is I could go ahead and just eject this disk here, and then I could select another one, and hopefully this isn't blurring out and you could see this, but I just go down and I pick the next game that I want to play. And I'm going to load up Centipede. So on there right now is Centipede, and I just got these forward and backwards buttons, and then I could set it by putting here. It actually, that's just like me putting it into the disk drive right there. So hopefully that's all clear and you can make that all out. So now I'm going to go ahead and load it, and what I'm going to do is another warm reboot. So I'm just going to press to restart the control on the Apple and release that. And if you could see on here in the Floppy Emu, the green light's flashing. And so now it's loading up Centipede just like if I stuck a floppy in the drive. And when I put this back down, I'm going to let it load up here. And then we'll focus on the screen. And you can see it loads up Centipede, and it loads up just fine. Again, the colors are a little washed out when you're doing the videos this way, but you get an idea. You can see the green on the mushrooms and so forth. And that's all there is to the Floppy Emu, and that's what the different loading up on there and seeing these different games. So let's go ahead and stop this for now. So that's it, guys. That's everything that I have for my new Apple IIe system. I just wanted to show you everything I had and where I'm at this moment. You got any suggestions on anything additions I can do with my Apple IIe? Please leave them in the comments. But let's go ahead and get this video wrapped up.
So that's it, guys. That's everything about my Apple IIe that I want to share with you today. Just really excited to get this in. Put down in the comments, I'd love to hear if you played on this, if this is what you used in school, what was the different things that you did with the Apple IIe, and just love this version of it. And I hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, thank you for joining me on another Floppy Deep Dive.